Welcome to my Beading Heart do-it-yourself jewelry making show. Today I'm here with my friend Nicole. My name is Janine Gerade, and we are making these lovely necklaces today. What do you think?
Beautiful.
Thank you. So what they're going to be is delicate beads going down, and then we're going to do more expensive focal bead. We're going to use gemstones or glass.
Is that amethyst?
This one is amethyst right here, and
Beautiful.
this one's quartz. So what I'd like to do is spend a little more money on these so that they're kind of like the focal part. And these seed beads are relatively inexpensive and can be purchased at many places, such as Michael's or online. I have some links on my website to show you. And it's relatively easy, and I think the look is very classy. So I'm going to show you how to start it. What we've done here is we've started the project to make things go a little smoother, but I'm going to show you how to start it. And some of the materials that we have here, we have some gemstone beads.
What are these, Janine?
Oh, some of them are coral. We've got hematite. We've got fluorite, which is right here. These are the corals.
Love
and
the coral.
jaspers. A nice mix assortment. The ones,
So these are finer beads?
yes, these are the finer beads that I like to use as a focal.
Okay.
Shape that I use on most of them are called rondelle beads. Let me grab some of these and show you. So those are rondelle beads. These ones are fluorite, and as you can see as I move, they have like a little sparkle. It's called
So
faceting. Thank you. Yeah, faceted beads. I kind of love sparkles, so
Yeah,
figured
who
they'd be
doesn't?
a nice little flashy part.
Okay.
And then the seed beads, they come in all different ways. They come in baggies, packages, or tubes. And I have some different sizes that I've used. The sizing, done some research on them. It's easier for people across different makers to make the same size beads for projects.
What size do you usually use for the length of the necklace?
I think the most common, easiest to string are on these two, and they're called 11-0 seed beads.
11-0?
11-0. It's very common. You can look that up in Google.
What's your favorite place to get beads?
My favorite place is artbeads.com.
Artbeads.com.
That's where I get most of mine. These ones right here are called 15/0 seed beads. They're very, very tiny, but I love the delicate look. The thing
And
you
they
have to
do
make
sparkle.
sure they do, yes, but you have to make sure they fit on your wire. So the type of wire you get is important as well. There are many different types of wire. The kind I use the most is this 19-strand Beadalon. I don't know if you could see that. It's 0.46 millimeters. And I got a 30-foot spool, but you can get different amounts for different prices depending on your budget.
But this one is strong enough to hold
Yeah.
and small enough for the seed beads to fit on.
I think so, yeah.
And it's 19,
Yeah.
size 19
There's 19
strand.
little tiny strands inside of this, and then it's coated on top with nylon. And there's different thicknesses you can get. I don't know if you could see the difference between these two. One's very thin. I had a really thin one because I had the small 15-0 seed beads on here.
And you find they're strong enough with the 15?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
I
So
do.
either 19 or 15?
Yep. And there's different size crimp beads. These crimp beads are what we're going to use to keep it together. So we're going to crush the metal, basically, and it'll hold the wire together. Crimp beads come in different sizes. The kind I use for this is what's called a Beadalon number 2. All of this is on my website if you have questions. This one's a size 2, which I have here on my board. I have larger ones as well. So
Which size do you usually use?
I use the 2. Gives me enough room to get the strand, because you're going to double your strand back in. I'll give you some too. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut myself probably about 1.5 feet or 18 inches of wire, just so you have enough extra for your project.
And this will end up being what size necklace?
Average size necklace is around 18 inches.
Okay.
16 is more of like a choker, and I personally like 22. A 22, I think this is 18, so you get kind of an idea how it sits on me.
So pretty. It would depend on your outfit.
Yes,
you want to wear
absolutely,
something.
because you have a cowl neck, so you'd want something a little longer. So a 20 would be good on you.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is, I don't know if you could zoom in here, but I got the crimp bead on there, and I'm going to add my clasp. This is called a lobster clasp. This one's a gold plated. And I'm mixing metals here today just for display purposes. Now I'm going to fold, I'm going to go down about an inch with the crimp bead behind it. I'm going to fold it and string it back through the crimp like that. I'm giving it probably like 1/4 of an inch down so it has some wiggle room. You want the clasp to be able to move. And then I'm going to take my pliers. I have flat nose pliers or the round nose, either one will work. And these are jewelry pliers, not your regular mechanic pliers. And you can get these anywhere too. And I'm just going to squish it.
So Janine, why would you use pliers rather than a crimping?
Well, it depends on availability. Some people already have these on hand, so I use
right.
this first, just so, you know, they can start
And
beading
it's
right
plenty
away.
strong enough. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now this is called a crimping tool. This crimping tool has 2 chambers. The first chamber will squish the bead down into like a C shape. Then the outer chamber folds it. It's kind of an interesting concept. So what I'll do is I'll put on another crimp bead, a nice big one, so we can see. I'll do it right next to it so we can see the difference. There we go. So I'm going to grab it with the back chamber. Okay, so see, I don't know if you could see that, it's a C shape.
Oh, yes. Looks very strong.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you take the front part of the chamber, which is kind of like a circle, and you very gently squish it down, and it basically folds it for a stronger.
Okay. And if you didn't have a crimping tool, you would just use the
regular
first one and
pliers, yeah.
put 2 for safety.
Exactly.
Okay.
And another option that you have for finishing this at the end or as you make it, to make it more professional looking, is you use a crimp cover. There are these C-shaped beads that go over the crimp, so it basically hides it, so you don't
And
see it.
is it a colored bead?
Yes. A lot of ways to cut down on price would be if you used crimp beads that weren't sterling silver, and you covered it with a sterling silver crimp bead. That way that bead inside there won't tarnish and you won't see it tarnish.
That's for finer jewelry, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to pop this crimp bead over. I'm going to do it on the first one we did. So it's, see it's open?
I do.
Okay. So then I'm going to gently take my crimping pliers or any pliers and just close it. Got to get the right angle. Takes a little patience. And just kind of squeeze it shut gently.
Very good.
And that's that. So now you have a bead. So then we're going to trim. And I think I've discussed this before with trimming. We don't want it to go into our eye. Should be wearing goggles. But what I do is I'm using metal shears here. These are because they have a nice fine tip, but you can use the clippers right there. And get right close to that crimp bead. Cover it up with your hand. Look away. Oh, some beads went flying.
Sorry.
And it's nice and trim.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So then we start beading.
So I have a halfway done, little more than halfway done strand of beads here, so I'll just continue on with
Just
it.
continue on,
Okay.
and we'll talk about tools and such.
Okay.
What I've done is, for easy measuring for your first project, I've done 8 inches of beads.
Okay.
I did a solid color because I wanted the focus to be on these, because these are what I really wanted to kind of showcase. And ooh, it matched my sweater.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love these. These are garnet. So
And this
8
is
inches, and then I did 2 inches. So you did a little bit more than 2 inches of the fluorite.
fluorite. Okay.
Yep. And you have a nice assortment of glass beads here.
They're pretty.
And you did a pattern, which is great too. So some tricks with beading is I have a nice, this is a jewelry tray. And I put some foam in here. They have beading foam, different craft stores. This is just, actually came with this foam. It's a nice surface. Any type of foam or even this fabric right here that you can get at Joann's will hold the beads. It'll hold them in place so they're not rolling around, even though I spilled them earlier, but that was because I was doing something. So it's nice to keep them on the foam and just kind of pick them up with your
Makes it
wire.
Easier.
Yeah, and you don't need a needle for wire too, which is another reason I like to work with it.
These tiny ones are not that easy.
I know.
Takes patience.
Yes, it absolutely does. So I'll do a couple of these. How much beading have you done?
Not a lot. Not a lot. A little bit. It's so, if you have the time, it's so relaxing.
It really is. You know, it's the kind of project, for me anyway, that, you know, I'll look up and be like, oh, I've been here a couple hours and I didn't even realize it.
Very relaxing.
I'm notorious for listening to movies because I'm, you know, focused on my beads. All right.
So I did, I remember doing a class with you.
Yeah.
We did woven cuff
Yes.
with a couple of girls. Mm-hmm. And that was fun. That was like hours, remember?
Yes, it's an intense project.
Do you still offer classes
I do, yeah.
at your shop in
I
Hollister?
do. My shop's so tiny. It's 400 square feet, so I can fit maximum 4 people. But I can bring a class anywhere. I love to teach people how to do beading. I love to see their faces light up when they make something beautiful for themselves or
It
anybody
was
else.
so fun.
Yeah.
When we
Yeah,
did
it was
that
nice
class.
because you could chit chat and relax.
Yeah. I think we had snacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yes. It's really simple, and you know what's great about it is it does work up quick. I mean, you can do a necklace for someone within 45 minutes.
Well, we're
The only thing
a
that
little
would-
quicker for you, Janine.
All right, maybe an hour and 20.
Gosh, I'm going to clip the end of mine.
Yes, sometimes if your wire does bend a little, feel free to clip it because we did add in extra length. Another thing I did as a tip is right before I ended this, I put a really big bead. Because when you do a crimp, sometimes there's a little tail, and I tried to get in there and get that guy, that little tiny bit right there. And that might scratch you a little bit. So what I'd do is I would try to find a bead with a very big hole. And it would just kind of, it would look cool, but it would also cover up where that cut was, that little tiny tail sticking out. And then I'd string my small beads on. And it looks cute. But if it covers that problem too, if you get a little bit of scratchiness. So I don't have
Good
any-
idea.
Yeah, it's fun. So you measure it, make sure it's nice and even. Mine is not, so I'm gonna take a few beads off, which there's no problem with that.
Janine, where did you buy these beading boards?
These I got at jewelrydisplay.com. They're actually displays.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you able to buy them at like Michael's or AC Moore?
I think they might start having trays, yeah. And there's different inserts you can put in these.
Oh, nice.
Yes, you can do a black felt insert. They have dividers like this, so you can do beads and have them in your tray, and then they stack.
Yeah.
So you can put your project on here and then stack it and put it away for later. And it's not going anywhere, really. It doesn't really...
Makes it much easier.
Yeah. Working on like a paper plate or a table is probably not a good idea. They're going to go flying, so you got to be careful of that.
I like those pieces that are like blankets.
Yes, that's the bead felt. I love that
Bead
stuff.
felt
And
is
you can
nice,
cut
too.
that to fit anything. So I have a little cute tray
Yeah.
that I work in at my store, and then I cut a piece to fit inside of it. And it's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can stack them on top of each other on top of projects as well. You tell I like beading? All right, so
Anyone who starts it will love it. Like I said, it just takes your patience, and then it's
yeah.
all right. So do you? I'm not there yet, but why don't you show how to finish it?
Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to finish it off. You can do a large bead here. You don't have to, though, but I'm just going to stick one on just in case. All right, now I'm going to string on my crimp bead. Now, I don't know if you noticed my crimp bead is silver plated and my clasp is gold. What I'm going to do later is put on a gold crimp cover to match so you don't know. So right now I did this one reverse. So I did the end part of the clasp first. Doesn't matter which way you do it. In this lobster clasp I got online. So I'm going to go through, I strung a crimp bead, a larger bead to hide the tail. I'm going to string on the clasp, hold it, go back through the crimp bead and the larger bead. It's okay if you fed it through a couple of beads too. I'm just going to pull them off
I
though.
see how important it is to have a longer length.
Yeah, that way you have plenty to play with. And one trick that I do is I take my pliers and I hold the strand that has all these, not the looping part. So I hold that, and I can tell because I could pull on it, and these aren't going anywhere. I take my tail and I pull it closed, and that keeps these in place from sliding around. I'm going to do that. And I grab both strands with my fingers, and I'm going to use the tool this time. Okay. So I did the crimping tool, so now it's like a C shape. Do it one more time just to make sure. I'm going to do sideways, squish it. It didn't fold over that time, so I'm just going to leave it. You can put the crimp cover over it, so it doesn't matter if it works or not.
Okay.
As long as you give it a little tug to make sure it's on there.
Okay.
And I'm going to trim it. And clasp it together.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, you know, make sure it's the right length for you or whoever you're giving it to.
Nice. Do you have it? You want me to clasp it?
No.
Okay. Stuck.
Pick a clasp it to my shirt. And there you go. So I'm going to put that right here. What do you think?
I think it's beautiful.
Excellent. So it's pretty simple enough to do. And I really like it. I think it's a great modern touch. Thanks for joining me, Nicole.
Thanks, Janine. It was fun.
Thank you for watching My Beaded Heart, and join me next time.